Arsenal's midfield meltdown. Why Thomas Partey's PSG collapse. Should mark the end of his Emirates era. It was supposed to be a redemption night in Paris. For Arsenal, the stakes were sky high. A pivotal Champions League clash against Paris Saint-Germain. The kind of game that defines seasons, rewrites narratives, and makes or breaks legacies. And in the heart of it all stood Thomas Partey, the 31-year-old Ghanaian midfielder, whose return to the starting lineup was heralded as the missing piece in Mikel Arteta's tactical puzzle. Instead, it became a night that may define the end of his Arsenal career. Let's be clear, Partey wasn't just disappointing, he was disastrous. On a night when composure, control, and big-game mentality were demanded, Partey delivered none. What he gave instead were costly errors, defensive lapses, and a performance that will haunt Arsenal fans for weeks. And if newly appointed technical director Andrea Berta was watching closely, and you know he was, the verdict couldn't be clearer. It's time to move on. The hype. Before the fall. In the build-up to the clash, much of the talk around Arsenal's chances revolved around one key change, the return of Thomas Partey to the midfield. The Gunners had lacked physical presence and control in the middle of the park during his suspension, especially after a reckless yellow card against Real Madrid, a senseless shove on Dani Ceballos that highlighted his growing tendency for poor judgment. But Arteta and many fans put their faith in Partey. They hoped that, on European football's grandest stage, he would bring balance, break up PSG's rhythm, and perhaps spark one of those signature transition plays that Arsenal fans dream of. Instead, the night became a masterclass in how not to seize the moment. A night of costly errors. Let's dissect the damage. The first major mistake came in the build-up to PSG's opening goal. The ball was lofted into the Arsenal box following a free kick, a routine ball that any seasoned midfielder should have cleared without fuss. Partey rose to meet it, unchallenged, with all the time and space in the world. But instead of sending the ball out wide or upfield, he delivered a weak, misdirected header straight into danger. A scramble ensued. Fabian Ruiz pounced. His volley, aided by a deflection off William Saliba, flew past David Raya. Could Saliba have done better? Maybe. Could Raya have gotten a hand on it? Unlikely. But there's no escaping the truth. That ball should never have reached Ruiz in the first place. It was a textbook clearance situation, and Partey failed the test. Still, at 1-0 down, Arsenal weren't out of it. There was hope, there was urgency. Until the second half, when disaster struck again, and Partey was once more the culprit. Hakimi darted into the final third, a move Arsenal had seen 100 times before. The pass to him could and should have been intercepted. Partey had tracked back, he was in position, he had time. But in a moment that summed up his entire evening, his feet got tangled, his reactions were sluggish, and the opportunity slipped by. Hakimi made no mistake. The second goal rippled the net, and with it, Arsenal's hopes of salvaging the night were buried. No more excuses. This wasn't just a poor performance. It was emblematic of a player who has lost the sharpness, the presence, and perhaps even the belief that once made him a £45 million cornerstone signing from Atletico Madrid in 2020. Injuries have plagued his time at the Emirates, yes, but availability is a skill in elite football, and so is rising to the occasion. On Wednesday, Partey did neither. The truth is, Thomas Partey is no longer the midfield general Arsenal thought they were getting. The flashes of brilliance, the crisp passes, the long throws, the occasional powerful drive, aren't enough anymore. Not when you're chasing Champions League glory. Not when you're fighting toe-to-toe with clubs backed by state fortunes and rosters dripping with superstars. Andrea Berta's first major test for Arsenal's new technical director Andrea Berta, this is an early gut check. The club has yet to officially decide on contract extensions for Partey or fellow midfielder Jorginho, both of whom are set to become free agents this summer. But after the PSG debacle, there's little left to deliberate. Keeping Partey beyond this summer would be more than a footballing misstep, it would be a strategic failure. The Gunners are trying to evolve, to push deeper into Europe, to finally transition from promising project to elite powerhouse. That journey doesn't include players who crumble under pressure. Letting Partey go may sting financially. He was a marquee signing. He arrived with high expectations and, for a brief spell, looked like he might live up to them. But nostalgia is a dangerous currency in football, and sentiment should never outweigh strategy. The bigger picture. Arsenal's midfield is already in flux. Declan Rice has A.